Okay.
Tell them about the
This is the story.
Come on, Your Majesty. Come on, everybody.
Great story. So this is a story, a true story actually, of me as a very small child. My parents wandered and did what is tree planting for a living. So thousands of trees. And they had a small camp. And they got back, and the teenager who was supposed to be watching me did not know where I was. So my parents tracked me to the woods by the remains of my cloth diaper that I had slowly shredded across a number of acres. And where I was found, a great tree had fallen across a gully, and I was crawling across the top of the tree with a little silver and green plastic chainsaw that anyone who remembers the 80s will remember. And in the gully was a moose. And as I was sneaking up on the moose, I was going, "Here, moose." With the knowledge that a tree dies by a chainsaw. So obviously I could kill a moose with the plastic chainsaw. And my parents flew like the wind, picked me up and ran away very quickly before the moose was not sure if I was to be murdered or not.
And he lives to
And I lived to this day. That's odd.
All right. We could declare him Bardic Champion and shut it all down now. He's busy defending the kingdom. Okay. All right. So I like that idea. All right. So we've had our opener. We've had His Majesty. We're going to go ahead and get the official competition started now. So I want your eyes. I want your ears. If you have to speak, do it in a church whisper. The quiet ones. Not the ones you want the lady in front of you to hear about, perhaps. Like the actual, where you're asking mom for gum and you don't want the priest to hear it. Okay? All right. So our first official competitor is Jada Alsrada. This lovely lady here. She's bringing out her cello. And would you like me to say the name of your piece, Jada, or would you like to introduce it? All right, Jada's going to introduce. She's bringing out her cello. It's just going to take a moment.
But they're going to cut them out very well.
All right.
But I can talk about the piece.
We have the stage available for anyone who wants to use it now, later, whenever. But please don't break the stage.
Oh, well, then I have to leave.
Nope. I'm bending, and that's a problem. I'm not supposed to bend. Don't bend, I know.
Okay, so the piece that I'm going to play today is her fault. The fact that I'm going to play today, also her fault. Myri is my laurel, so this is all her fault. It's not my fault. You both caused this. So I'm going to play a piece called An Italian Rant. We don't know when it came from. The first time it was found in the book was in 1645. I can't remember the person who put the book together. But in 1657, John Playford put a book together. His name is a lot easier to remember. And that's the one most people knew this piece from. We assume an Italian wanted to rant. That's about as much as I've got on it. Pieces of this actually became part of the Israeli national anthem in 1888. So if you ever heard the Israeli national anthem, maybe you'll recognize some pieces. It's not a very long piece. I'm not going to be very good at it. But we're going to try. Do it. Get it together. Don't make me rant at you. I am going to do a warm-up scale. We're going to do this. Okay. Did a quick warm-up scale. Yeah. For the record, first time I've performed in front of this many people in a very long time. If I get to the second one, you can hear me sing. Enticing.
I think that's right.
Anyone have any questions for Jada?
I wanted to run away.
About her piece or about her personal bardic journey?
Yes.
What was the hardest thing to master about that piece?
The high D. Which I didn't expect because I used to play on the highest register most of the time when I played cello. So going from the low D to the high D is absolutely the hardest part of the piece.
There's a question.
Yes.
Thought it kind of sounded like an argument.
Right? And like it was
Between,
discordant.
the high and the low.
Mhm.
Has there been any like papers or journals or anybody's written about?
Not anything specific that I could find. There's a lot of music was inspired by this piece. You could hear it in a lot of different pieces. There's also a piece called "Tripping of the Lark," which is the most direct reinterpretation of this and one of the first ones. And that one is really fun to hear if you actually hear it. It's usually played on a pipe or.
Awesome.
Yes, Maya. What are you doing to me?
Nothing yet. What was the thing that most intrigued you about this?
So my husband's persona is Venetian, and I'm a Moroccan merchant's daughter. And so my thought process was, if I was going to have to be in Italy, I was going to be mad about being in Italy. So I would be ranting the whole time. Thank you, everyone.
Well, that was fun. I don't know if we've
Oh,
had.
hold on, wait, sorry. Go bid on stuff at the auction.
Woo! So Jade is also running the Piers auction.
Excellent.
Thank you, Jade. So she's gonna have to run away to go run that. But
Thank you. Good luck, everyone else.
I love that. I love cello. I'm so excited. Okay, like she said, it was my fault. All right, so my list is not in order, so you'll forgive me. So our next performer is Erin O'Byrne. If you'd like to come up for us, Erin, so much. And please introduce your piece.
Good afternoon. My name is Erin. I am from Glenduven. There's several of us from Glenduven here today. We are doing a piece that in English, modern English, would be "Lule, My Child," Weep No More. In Middle English, which is what I will be performing in, it is "Lule, My Child," and "Weep No More." It appears in a manuscript that's dated between 1471 and 1485, with a then printed publication from 1847 in England from the Percy Society's Songs and Carols, now printed from a manuscript of the 15th century. There are various versions of this song in sort of manuscript texts that exist after that first one that we have. Sometimes the title is also known as This Endless Night, and copies of the texts in manuscripts are dated through the end of the 15th and beginning of the 16th century. It's most commonly recorded as a refrain, two verses, or refrain, two verses, and continuing that pattern, ending in a refrain. And some versions have more verses than others. I am singing a slightly shorter one today. A summary of the text. Baby Jesus is born to a maid in a stable and then has a remarkably calm and coherent discussion with his mother about his existence on this plane, including the fact that he is to be sacrificed in about 30 years to redeem the sins of mankind. He is sad about this and cries. Lulai, my children, weep no more. Sleep and now be still. The King of bliss, his Father is, as it was his will. This Andres meet my soul sleep, amid her cradle keeper, and ever she's on them set among. Lulai, my children, sleep. He may not sleep, but ever weep. I am so old begone. Sleep thy old, but I am cold, and glories have it on. Lulil, my child, and weep no more. Sleep and now be still. The King of bliss, his Father is, as it was his will. Methought his heart and children's heart unto his mother hastened. Me mother there, what do I have? It grieve why am I alive? I was born and made without vesties both ox and ass. Me mother mild, I am the child, my father was ill. Truly, my child, and sleep no more. The King of bliss, thy Father is. The King, rule I, my child, and weep no more. Sleep and now still. The King of bliss, the Father is, as it was his will. What arms give this one heart's felt, that secret met sore. Man for the hair shall I be, dirty winter more. To live to sing, here shall I be, home upon the road, with valleys to better, my wounds to wetter, and health in my flesh to bone. To lie, my child, and weep no more, sleep and now be still. The King of bliss, his Father is, as it was his will.
Have any questions for our very talented singer?
What was the most interesting part of trying to sing in Middle English?
It's actually surprisingly easy to pick up. I had a fantastic teacher, Colette the Bard, who's also from the former Kingdom Bard, actually. And Colette actually specializes in Middle English, and so we spent a couple of hours going through it. And once you get the rhythm and the pattern and understand the mouth shapes, it's not that difficult to pick it up. I thought it was awesome. Yes.
So we all kind of laughed when, Jesus, was remorsing his death. Is the song actually, it comes off morose, sad.
It is.
Is that, okay.
Yes. Yes.
Just want to make sure I got the vibe right.
Yes. Former Catholic. I'm allowed to smoke at that.
No, I'm not saying I just want to make sure I understand.
Yes, no, it's actually very sad. It's a very sad lullaby. The additional verses that you see some versions having go more into the baby talking about the sacrifices that he's going to make, and that it's very sad, and that he wishes that it didn't have to happen that way.
Right.
If chosen, what would you like to do with your time as part of volunteer?
Oh, I have actually thought about that. So, for those that don't know, I actually specialize in lyrics and composition. And a question I get from a lot of people on a very regular basis is, how do you do that? And one of the things that I've been thinking about a lot is, how do we make things like composition of music and lyrics more accessible? A lot of people are really scared by that. It's very frightening to not just put out yourself in front of a group of people, but then to put a literal piece of your soul on stage for people to examine and poke at and critique. It's really, really scary. So thinking about ways, how do we get people comfortable with the idea of composing, whether it's having them do filks or having them write additional verses to other things. There's a song I actually have called Home in the Summits that is intended to have other people write verses so they can describe what makes the summits home to them. And so doing things with those sorts of pieces is something I love to explore.
Any other questions? All right, thank you so much. This is getting very difficult, Majesty. Are you sure we don't just want to declare His Majesty Bardic Champion? That's a tough choice for you. Okay, just had to double check. Our next competitor is Gracia Abronel, home Glimmer, I believe. Come all the way from Glimmer. She's unfortunately making the long way around. But here we go. Yeah. Please introduce your piece, Gracia.
Hello, everyone. I am performing a piece called The Flatulent Windbag. It is basically poetry. It was originally written in Akkadian around 2350, which is also the period of my dress today. It's one of the oldest pieces we have a good chunk of. And it was originally part of a longer piece that included a travel log and professional resume that reads a lot like the poem Modern Major General from Pirates of Penzance. It's definitely not meant to be taken seriously. This poem is meant to make fun of people who brag a lot about themselves. So with that context, I'll go ahead and get started. The lion may terrify, but I can roar too. The lion may switch her tail, but I can wag my tail too. I am as trustworthy as a sieve holds water. I uphold duty like a pit bull supports an unwary step. I sing as beautifully as a pigeon. Which is true, excuse me. My wit is as sharp as a loom weight. My counsel rings with the wisdom of a newborn calf. I am as courageous as a rabbit in an open field. When the hawk soars overhead, I bravely freeze. Stealing is an abomination to me. It's just that what I see doesn't stay where it was. My counsel illuminates like a candle at dawn, and when I dance, the earth quakes. I am as generous as the desert rain. When I give, it is as fleeting as a blink. I am as friendly and charming as the feral dog, and as constant as the changing clouds. I have grown large from starvation and thin from eating, 10 pints for breakfast and 30 for dinner. I don't rest till I fill the bushel to the brim. I am as swift as a hippo on a lazy afternoon, and as graceful as a stumbling ox. The long and the short of it is, among women, there are none quite like me. My beauty is radiant as a night sky. My hair flows like the riverbed in high summer. My limbs are as shapely as the elephant. My face a hyena's. In my stature as tall as a tortoise, I have no equal. I can carry the weight of a feather on my back. And when the wind blows, I am as unshakable. I am vigorous and lively, so much so that my husband would worship me like a snared crab, scuttling backwards at me. In the art of spinning, I rival the spider's web. My threads are as flexible as reeds in the flood. My cloth fits as a sack, elegant as a donkey's bray. My dyes shine as dark as a dusty day. I break bread that fills the stomach like a rock, and my loaves rise like the setting sun. My hands are as quick as a snail on the loom, and my tapestries tell tales no man can read. In all things, I am a master of my crafts. My skills are known as a lesson to many.
Anyone have any questions for Gracia?
So you said it's Acadian?
It's Acadian, yes.
Okay. What do you have, like a city specifically, or just?
So this is actually one of the most popular pieces from the Acadian world. We have multiple surviving copies in different locations.
Awesome.
So it's everywhere from Syria to modern-day Iraq. The Akkadian Empire in this era was fairly broad across that area of the Middle East. And this was clearly part of the normal text that was frequently copied by scribes, which is why we have so much of it in such complete a form. We even have a couple of different variants of it, which isn't something you can say for most of this. Yes. 2350 BC.
Wow.
Yes. So it's over 4,000 years old.
Wow.
Yes.
So I'm
600 years before Sargon, actually.
I'm a sucker for a themed outfit, and I think that that's just as important a part of performance as the actual performance itself. Could you tell us how long it took you to put all this together? Because I'm pretty sure I watched your display last year.
It's about a year and a half. It's not done. I'm still working on version 2 right now. I, in fact, have a good chunk of my next version of this Kuniku worked on my loom at home. But it's kind of an ongoing process and a work of love. I recently had an opportunity to see the grave goods of Buabi of Ur at the Penn Museum, which is one of my inspirations. So now I'm coming home going, Well, I did pretty good the first time, but how much more? There are so many tiny details in the original that it is going to take a whole new effort to reach that level.
I admire that. You're very understated.
Believe it or not, I dressed down for this event. I'm not in my bead cape today. I did seriously consider it. Yes.
What can you tell me about the translation that you chose to use?
That's a great question. So I'm still learning cuneiform, and I'm nowhere near the level of being able to do my own original translation. I ended up pulling up 4 different translations of this particular piece. Again, it's a fairly common one, so I've got multiple examples. A lot of the translations were, for lack of a better word, both very old, like 70s and older, and also very literal. They weren't trying to keep any of the alliteration or any of the more lyric devices that would have been common. They also, I swear they broke out a thesaurus and used the most obscure possible translation of some of this. And I'm like sitting there going like, okay, now I need to Google this word. Okay, they mean loom weight. Why didn't they just say loom weight? So what I did was I looked at a couple different translations. I pulled mostly from a specific one, which I mentioned in here. By Benjamin Foster. And then I basically took it apart and tried to make it actually read well in English, which was a bit of a project. Yes?
I was curious, do you know if any work has been done to reconstruct the pronunciation of the original Akkadian?
So we do have a pretty good idea of how Akkadian was pronounced, mostly because we have texts that are syllable by syllable, for lack of a better word, dictionaries for example, Greek in that period. So we have some idea, but there's also a lot of, for lack of a better word, controversy still around it, particularly on the pronunciation of vowels, which were often not, that's not really something you spelled out. So a lot of times it's like, is this Aluzan, Aluzinu? That's the name of the jester, right, who would have been performing this piece. Yes.
If you're chosen as far as a volunteer, what would you like to do with your time?
I think the biggest thing I want to do is give people a platform to be able to showcase some of their own work. So that's going to events and recording some of the Bardic competitions, going, you're doing something really cool, can I talk to you about that and profile it on our Facebook pages? I wanted an opportunity to showcase all of the awesome Bardic talent that we're seeing today and also all around the kingdom. Thank you. Thank you. Yes.
Your own translation.
It is,
For that.
in a lot of ways.
Are you willing to share that?
Yes, in fact, I've shared a Google Drive, and I'd be happy to share some copies as well.
Thank you. That was very fun. Sorry. I don't want to keep giving my own little piece. That's really cool. Our next performer, storyteller, friend, comes from the arts. Yuri Viktorov Beregurovsky.
So, over the course of about 2 years, I wrote a pair of sonnets, specifically Pentarchian, which is one of the older in the Italian form, and I wrote them based on the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, which is one of my favorite stories. It's one I read when I stuck with me from when I read it as a child. I always wanted to do something with it, and this presented a really novel place and position to be able to do something really interesting with it. So, I'm going to present these 2 sonnets back to back. They are effectively in conversation with each other, one from Orpheus' perspective, one from Eurydice's perspective. And this, for anyone who is not familiar with the story, Orpheus marries the nymph Eurydice. She dies suddenly from a snake bite and descends into the underworld. He is so grief-stricken that he descends from the underworld himself, goes all the way down, convinces Hades, partly through Persephone, to release Eurydice. However, they make a deal. He cannot look at her. He must return to the surface world without looking at her, and she cannot speak to him at all. So these sonnets take place just at the moment about where he is about to cross back into the lands of the sun, about to cross back to the surface. So I present to you Orpheus' victory and Eurydice's release. Upward toward the light, so close am I. I have braved trials that would make others falter, the dark and death's domain, for love, for her. No looking back, my victory is none. And yet, Eurydice says nothing. Why? This absence of sound grows ever louder and drowns out hope. In this void, doubt does stir. One quick look to prove she is not mine. She's there, behind me, my bride, my love. Smile, then she turns, she fades. I try to grab her, but I am too late. Nothing remains but pain I must abide, and worse, this failure at my feet doth lay. Oh, faithless fool, misery be thy fate. Upward toward the light, so near are we. He came down deep beneath the grass alone to rouse me from dead sleep and take me home. Orpheus, together soon we shall be. There is the world. Why am I not happy? I slept in peace in death's halls of stone, a joyless sleep, the one free of pain once known. Alas, I cannot speak what is in me. He turns, his face full of elation, but Hermes' hand is on my shoulder, turning me back toward my rest unending. Goodbye, my love. Our time is truly done. Oh, pitiable fool, how you suffer. You should have lived for more than your longing.
Have any questions for our bards?
So, what was the biggest difficulty in writing in the Petrarchan?
It's that because it's 8 and 6 instead of so Petrarchan differs significantly from Elizabethan and from English styles, Spenserian and Elizabethan or Shakespearean, because Shakespearean and Spenserian are broken into these 4-line couplets or quatrains and then a couplet. So it's 4, 4, 4, 2. So the rhymes are all pretty well contained within there. Petrarchan, that whole 8 is A, B, B, A, B, B, A. And always the difficulty I found with sonnets is you really have to be very careful about what you pick as that end rhyme, because if you pick something that sounds really good at first, you can get multiple lines down and suddenly realize you've either run out of words or that rhyme isn't working, and suddenly you have to basically unweave the whole thing and start over with a whole new word and then try to restructure the whole thing around that. So having that extended rhyme going all the way through that 8 means that I had to keep trying to like move the words, me like, all right, do I have one that rhymes still with these previous ones? But dude, I got lucky, but it can be a really painstaking process. And a lot of me sitting there going, let's see, hand, stand, man, band, hand. Like there were times, I swear, if you saw me just sitting there staring off the space, mouthing words, literally going through every single possible variation I could think of the rhyme for that word.
Speaking of coming up with rhymes, do you have a favorite source, either online or in book, to find words for that?
Not really. I tend to just rely on sitting there and working it out. I know there are some good websites that I have occasionally actually pulled up. I can't remember the names off the top of my head, but they mostly typing in like rhyming dictionaries or help me rhyme a word tended to come up with some pretty good searches. But yeah, a lot of the time I just sit down and just work through it in my head.
Oh, beautiful. Is there a word, like a favorite word that you have that you'd like to work into one of your poems with it that you haven't been able to yet? Like trying to rhyme with cacophony or something silly.
Cacophony would be good.
Right?
It's really good word, mouthfeel. Yeah, that's actually one of the things that I honestly didn't think I would be here doing sonnets as one of my major areas. When I learned them in college, I was like, oh, I hate this form. It's so rigid, it's so difficult to do. But when I really got into it, it became more like a puzzle where I'm piecing it together piece by piece. And it's like when it comes together, the whole thing, I can sit back and look at the whole thing and be like, wow, that was really impressive. I managed to get Constantinople into there and find it. But yeah, it's word choices. So everything has to be really carefully done. Every word that's chosen has to be done very deliberately, because not only are you limited by space, you're limited by the cadence, how you match it into that IM structure. But then again, if you end up at the end, rhyme scheme really so a word has to be very carefully chosen. If I choose a word that's too big, it's going to take up too much space in the line, and I might have to cut something else. If its cadence doesn't work, I might have to move it around and restructure the language. If its rhyme doesn't work, I might have to remove it and replace it with something else. I don't know. I can't think of it. It's really going to come to it's going to be in the moment. It's going to be like, oh, that's the word I really want to use, and I'll be like, oh, I can't really get it.
No, it's okay. That's the process of the answer.
Flabbergast.
Ooh.
Flabbergast. If I could get flabbergasting, that's flabbergast.
If you're chosen as part of Vontier, what would you like to do with your time?
Well, two things. My previous answers I've given, I still stick with. I really want to be present. I want to be present and be a bard, be constantly active, be always barding. Like, if I'm at an event, find something to do, go to a bardic, do a class, do something to always be present with the bardic community, involve the bardic community. But also, a lot of conversations I've been having with people lately, including members of Laurel, about making spaces for bards and trying to find more opportunities and places where we can just present, not beyond competition, beyond that kind of area, but just stages and spaces where we can present our art. Also outside of the in-camp bardic circles thing, we can have stages, if we can just have opportunities where we can sign up, and that's kind of a process I'd like to start with with Laurels, I know, with other members of the bardic community, really try to move that forward and other stuff.
Hey Yuri, how long were you Bardic Summit?
Twice. Once for 2 years. Yeah, about 2 years. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. Just beyond the halfway point, everybody stretch. Stretch. Good. Our next performer hails from Bluff-on-Nor, Atha Michael's daughter.
For the record, I'm here. It's her fault too. Yeah, my name is Apple Michael's daughter. The piece that I'm about to perform is a piece written by Abbess Hildegard Moltmann, Saint Hildegard Moltmann. She was an abbess at the Gothenburg Abbey in what's now Germany in the 12th century. She was a nun. She was a mystic. She was a writer, she was a scholar, she was a composer, she was a poet. She advised popes. She was something else. And her work is widely available online and in text. And I highly recommend that you go search her up. There's a lot of really great recordings on YouTube. There's a Hildegard Bingen Society. This piece, many have heard the stuff, in English. Many of the pieces that she wrote were hymns to the Virgin Mary, and this one is no exception. This has various names. I've heard it called Virga, which is the first three words of the piece. I've also seen it called De Santa Maria, of Holy Mary. In any case, O Viridissima Virga, Mentos of labros Gitipationi Santorum Raudisti Convenit Tempum Autumn floruis in ramis tuis. Ave sitibi. Quia calor solis in te sudavi. Sicut odor balsami Namite floruit pulcher flos, Violo renderit omnibus orumas lebus, era. Itima parunt omnia, in viriditate plena. Orem superame, et omnis terra leta facta est, coniantis gera ipsius frumentum protulerunt, et coniam volucres celi nidos in ipsa abuerunt. De facta est asca omnibus, et gaudium magnum apullantium, unde suavis Virgo, intero deficitulum gaudium. Ego mio, eba contempsi, nugautem lausitatissimo.
Have any questions for Appa?
Have you done a rough translation of your song?
I do not. I don't know that much Latin, but I did look it up.
Okay.
And I did submit it. It is basically, see if I can. Oh, greenest branch, thou who has brought joy to the world, who you have brought the odor of sweetness, the sweetest flowers, all of these things that Eve was contemptible, was contemptuous of.
What do you find the most difficult about learning flame chant?
Very weird intervals. That I grew up Catholic, so I had an in. But and I'm now Eastern Orthodox, so I have another in. But it's the weird intervals. The Latin isn't terribly difficult to pronounce it exactly the way it's written. But yeah, just being able to learn and remember all those very weird. They like this. I don't know why they like this.
So speaking of learning and memorizing, what is your favorite technique to tell new bards to help assist them in memorizing? That's a pretty long piece in Latin.
It is a pretty long piece. For me, I am not an auditory learner. I am a visual learner. And so, I can learn music auditorially, but to learn anything written, I have to see it. So I got a CD with it, and I listened to it, and I read, and just practiced. And then once I knew how to pronounce things and knew more or less where it was, I just listened to it on repeat for insane amounts of time. But that's pretty much it's repetition. Being able to read music helps, but it's not actually necessary because the way that they wrote music then is not the way that we write music now, and it's actually kind of fascinating. There's one of the texts that I have is called Hildegard of Bingen's Book of Divine Works,
and music. And at the end, it actually has the transcription of how she wrote them. And instead of being individual notes, it's these kind of little things that are just fascinating to me. And then when you hear it and you see that, you start to make the connection.
I'm curious. You talked about the tonality of the piece at all, like what modes you're using, or anything along those lines. It's a very unusual melody.
I am not as advanced a music person as that question would necessitate for me to be able to answer that. I have had some practice. I play an instrument, but I don't know enough to be able to answer that question.
If you're chosen as Bardic volunteer, what would you like to do with your time?
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. Also, I'm really surprised you asked because nobody has asked that question. So I played in the SCA from '93 until about 2003, and then I went away for 18 years and came back for another. And a lot of things changed in 18 years, unsurprisingly. But one of the things I really miss is, and Gary was speaking about this too, is that Bardic in Ontario right now, as I see it, tends to be more of a performance piece, as opposed to people getting together to have some fun. I miss Bardic fires around every campfire, getting together and having fun. Anybody who's up from Central Region, do you remember Blothenor's Ording site? The Ording site. And I remember going out at Autumnmore, and there was everywhere. There were Bardic fires everywhere, and I miss it. And I think people have come to think that you have to be able to do what we do, we who have been performing and will continue to perform today, in order to do anything Bardic. You don't. Dad jokes are Bardic. His Majesty's story was Bardic. And you know, I really want to bring that joy back. I really want to bring that ability to bring, because that's what Bardic was in period. Bardic was people getting together to sing, or to sing as they're working, or to sing in worship. But it was everywhere. It was pervasive. It was everything. And if we don't bring that into our society, we're missing out on huge swathes of the cultures that we are trying to research. And I don't feel strongly about that at all. By the way, I am moderately a teacher. You may have figured this out.
Let's do maybe one more. We have one towards the back over there, Alpha. Oh, look at that. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Alpha, so much. Our next performer, many of you probably know, headed from Madrona, Gareth Heyer. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in, please.
Good day, everyone.
Yay.
How many of you have heard of John Dowland? Raise your hands. Lots of people. How about John Johnson? John Johnson. So, you might be surprised to know that in the court of Queen Elizabeth I, John Johnson was a far more famous name than John Dowland. He was the royal lutenist to Her Majesty. Queen Elizabeth loved the lute. She played the lute. She kept John Johnson on retainer and listened to his music. And this is one of his most famous pieces. This is the Delight Pavin. It occurs in more than 30 sources of original manuscripts. And I hope you enjoy it. Oh, by the way, do I need amplification? All right. No amplification. The acoustics are great here. So.
All right. So you step a little.
Yes. All right.
Anyone have any questions for Gary?
Yes.
What's the difference, if any, between a period instrument of the time and what you're using?
So this is a accurate reconstruction of a Renaissance lute. It's modeled after extant lutes. The tuning is the same. Materials are all the same. I think the only compromise is I've added a strap. They hadn't quite figured out at that point that you can play with straps. And I use synthetic strings because the natural gut strings tend to wear out really fast.
And just one more quick, were they made like did Queen Elizabeth, were they made in her area, or did they?
They were usually imported.
Yeah, I was gonna say, where were they imported from?
I feel like Belgium, France, kind of the Low Countries kind of area was a popular area.
What would you say is the differences between Johnson and
Dowland.
Yes.
Yeah. So Dowland is much stronger at the polyphony side, where you have a lot of different voices all talking. This is one voice is dominant. There's some supporting voices coming in and out, but it's not quite as polyphonic. It's not quite as tuneful. There's it's a lot more kind of a little bit more subdued and understated. Yes. Sorry. Can you give an example of the difference? Oh sure. Yeah. So like. Yeah, I mean it's hard to kind of pull one out of my hat, but my next piece, if I have a chance to play it, is by Dowland, and you'll get to hear some of that flip. Yes.
What informs the performance choices that you make, as far as where you have retard and the I can see you making choices.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how those were.
Yeah. So there's definitely some documentation, people talking about modulating your speed, playing faster in areas, some areas slower in some places. So it's definitely part of the performance practice. Yes.
So you're obviously a master at your craft. What one resource would you give somebody who is just intimidated by too many strings and wants to get into it?
Well, there's my YouTube channel. A lot of very good YouTube channels. There's a good introduction to the Renaissance flute by Peter Croton. Yes.
If you're chosen as the Bard of Bontier, what would you like to do with your time?
So I would love to make our events even more full of music than they are now. I think it would be great to have music at all the courts, music in the hallways. I've over the last year, my music has transformed from being primarily focused on my solo playing to playing with my band Profane Airs, and playing with others is so lovely. And so I really want to encourage more groups to form, encourage other people to play together and play at events. Yes.
For the benefit of the room, can you explain the history or the background of when you started learning to play?
Yeah. It was about 5 years ago at this point. Sir Martin, who's sneaking in the back, I heard him playing it at one event and just fell in love instantly, and I've been obsessed with it ever since. Yes.
And for the non-listeners in the room,
yes.
I think it's almost everybody, except for 3 of us in the room. Would you mind just briefly summarizing what are some of the technical challenges in a piece like you just played?
Yeah, so I'd say the biggest technical challenge is the fast runs. So being able to hit those notes quickly, that kind of thing. I think you need really to work on your hand motion. You've got to use the right muscles, the right movements to be able to hit notes quickly like that. You can't just go like that. So.
Big, yeah. Big.
Right.
Yeah. Go ahead and take a moment for our next performer to set up. This, I think, a little different. This might be the first time we've had anything like this. Do we want to bring the whole table over? My boys are coming. Okay, excellent. So, my list is not in order, and I want you to understand something. This is not, these people aren't amazing. It's that my brain does not focus on names well. I think a lot of you have the same problems. Morgan Wizet DeHoten is going to be doing something very special for us, and I don't want to take away from her presentation. So if that table gets moved over, we're going to need the lights out in the room.
Before the lights go out,
Uh,
Can you move it?
Back.
Further back. So the more of us can see it.
Yeah, that's more. This is the leather that is
Let's make
leather.
And those of you who can't see, let's just move the center.
Or I. Over here. Well, will the camera be able to?
And then just give us the signal. Do we have people that will be willing to turn off the lights for us when Morgan's ready? We know where the switches are. We'll find them. Oh, right. And a quick reminder not to run away, when this is over, we will have the audience voting portion. And that's important. We want to get everybody's opinion. That will help inform decisions for us.
Hello. So I'm Morgan Woodbend of Houghton. I'm from the Shire of Mountain Edge and the Summits. My accompanist is the lovely Kenzara, who is going to be playing along with my performance today. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak about a fascinating and timeless art form, Turkish shadow puppetry, and its most famous characters, Karagöz and Haçavat. Shadow puppetry, known as Karagöz ve Haçavat in Turkish, is a traditional storytelling art that uses leather puppets manipulated behind a screen, illuminated by a light source to cast their vibrant shadows. This art form reached its peak in the Ottoman Empire during the 16th century, blending comedy, drama, and cultural commentary into performances that entertained audiences from all walks of life, from the Sultan to the coffee houses. At the heart of this tradition are two iconic characters, Karagöz, the brash and outspoken everyman, and Haçavat, his educated but often frustrated foil. Their antics form the foundation of these plays, and Karagöz's impulsive nature often clashing with Haçavat's logic and refinement. The humor and lively dialogue made an art form immensely popular. Its significance really went far deeper than just entertainment, though. So the central character, Karagöz, of the traditional shadow play has a widely celebrated origin story. It's steeped in folklore, and there is no, for sure, we know this is the truth version, but the most popular version, according to legend, came from the roots of Karagöz to the Ottoman Empire during the reign of Sultan Orhan. So this is 1324 to 1362. According to the legend, Karagöz, which means black eye, and Haçavat were two witty and sharp-tongued laborers who worked on a construction of a mosque in the city of Bursa. Their constant banter and humorous exchanges captivated their fellow construction workers, but also distracted them and led to a lot of delays in the construction of this mosque. Legend has it the Sultan was very frustrated by the slow progress, so he ordered their execution. As you do, like you do when you're the Sultan. But however, after their deaths, he regretted this decision, and so to honor their memory and their humor, a craftsman began performing shadow plays featuring their antics and created the Haçavat and Karagöz tradition. This year, 2024, the country in Turkey celebrated the 500th anniversary of Karagöz, and there was a big celebration in Bursa at a tombstone that was erected for Karagöz and Haçavat. Be they resting in peace. During the 16th century, when free speech was very heavily restricted in the Ottoman Empire, Karagöz performances became one of the few ways that people could comment on politics and social issues and daily struggles without fear of reprisal. The art form allowed for veiled critiques of the Sultan, the bureaucracy, the societal norms, the religion, through humor and satire. And Karagöz's irreverent humor and Haçavat's more careful reasoning reflected the voice of the common people, creating a space where power could be questioned and ideas could be explored.
Research shows us this art form emerged from the guilds of craftsmen and merchants in Ottoman cities, where performers developed stories based on the lives of the struggles of the real people around them every day. And they were usually performed during big festivals, celebrations, and Ramadan. There would be one performance every night, and the community shared the laughter of these performances. The puppetry is endured as an emblem of Turkish culture. It is a verified non-tangible UNESCO World Heritage piece for the country of Turkey. And it is one of those things that is so prolific in that country that you could ask any child about Karagöz and they would know who he is like he was Mickey Mouse. It's the same known throughout the country. Today, I'm performing 2 sections of a Karagöz show that was fortunately already translated to English because I do not speak Turkish. A traditional show contains 4 sections and spans over 3 hours. And it's all done from memory. It always begins with a poem of the curtain, a poem or song performed by Hacivat. And he will engage the audience and interact with you. So you are encouraged to participate, laugh, clap back, be part of the show.
Excellent.
Light?
We get any darker?
Yeah. Thank you.
Satan is bad, double-faced. Wise men cannot be deceived by him. Let's hope bad people find the punishment, and let's start our show. All of you, welcome to the show. I know you come here to laugh. What I am going to tell you is that I have a friend. We like each other very much, but we cannot get along with each other because my friend has never been to school. He still meddles with everything and spoils everything. Therefore, he is always jobless and unemployed. My friend's name is Karagöz. Everyone knows him. Everyone loves him because he makes everybody laugh. He doesn't come out easily, but let's call him to the curtain. Karagöz! Karagöz! I know you are at home. Come quickly to me.
Obviously.
Hey, Karagöz Effendi, you still here? I thought you would go search for a job. I'm going right now. Hacivat, leave my place immediately. Dear Karagöz, come to me. You woke up my wife. If I come to you, I will bash you. Hey, you still here? No bread tonight. Rats doing the hunger dance in the kitchen. Good, then I'll take them to the dance contest. You joke with me. Oh, you scum. Don't hit me, honey. I will put on my trousers and go immediately. Don't hit me, oh please. I'm going to the neighbor to fill my empty stomach. You go now. Don't come back without getting a job, Karagöz Effendi. Okay. Hacivat, are you still waiting for me, Hacivat Effendi? Oh yes, I am still waiting for my Karagöz. If you don't go away, I will call the police. Come back soon. I've got good news for you. Leave your messages over there and get a knife. So many spectators are waiting. Now, how will you come? For some amusement. Some amusement. Hey, don't make me crazy. Oh, for some amusement. Amusement for everybody. Yeah! Now I will show you what is some amusement. You bit my ear. And you broke my nose. I hit him once, but it is wasted. He hit me 10,000 times. You bloody goatee. If you come back, I will bash you. Oh, my dear Karagöz. How are you? Oh, another goatee. Sir, why did you hit me? Is it fair? It is fair because I only joke.
Okay, have it your way, own way. You know why I called you? I know. To get a beating. Don't joke, my caragos. Being penniless is a very bad thing. I brought you nice news. Are you a newsmonger? Not like that. I found a nice job for you. I don't want it. You don't want to work? How come? How come? Just now your wife, she said, go and get a job. To surprise her, I didn't tell her. Oh, very nice. So what job is this? Well, there are many jobs. I have not decided yet. Say just one of them. Okay, I tell you what you got. For example, Directorate of National Education. Sorry, did I hear wrong? That's to say you could be a director and you haven't decided yet? Yes, exactly. Don't joke with me, Caragos. You are still an illiterate. Now, if I hit your back with an Ottoman slap, you will see how to write and read. I even have a diploma. You have a diploma? How did you get it? I entered an examination and they gave it to me. I am surprised, but at the same time, I'm very happy. So you don't tell anyone you studied your lessons and you entered the examination, did you? Bravo, you got it. Then is this diploma a primary school diploma or a high school diploma? I haven't checked yet. I am very curious. Oh my God, it goes. Bring it and we'll see. No, I lost it. How come you lost it? It is very important. Where did you put it? Under my bed. Well, I searched for it before I stumbled. Now I start getting confused. Why did you put your diploma under the bed? It will get creased. Well, if I find it, I will take it to Taylor Ahmed Effendi and have him iron my creased diploma. Okay then. Well, when did you get this diploma? When? Just last night. You didn't understand again. Did they give you the diploma in the night? They deliver it to your home? Exactly, Hachavat. Last night, a well-dressed man came. He examined me in all the subjects, and after that, he brought out the diploma from his bag, and he gave it to me. And he said he knew that I had passed the examination. He said, with this diploma, you can be a mayor, or a governor, and even a deputy, or you can be a director, wherever you wish. You can be a minister. You just decide, and I will appoint you to that position. Really? And after that, the man suddenly disappeared. And I thought I could bring it out in the morning, so I put it under the bed. Okay, I got it. So you entered the examination in your dream, and you received your diploma in your dream. I thought you were talking about real life, and I'm pleased to hear your story, but now I know that you've got nothing at all. Anyways, just forget it. I'm going to my shop. Goodbye. Well, if you go away, then I will go home and take a nap. My wife isn't at home anyway, so maybe I will get a job in my dream. Yep.
Can you talk a little bit about the process of making your puppets?
Oh, the puppets. All right. So these puppets are normally crafted out of, in period, they were made on camel hide. The camel hide would have been oiled and scraped 100 million times in order to be this translucent enough to be able to take the paint. They would have been painted with vegetable root dye type of paints, very concentrated, using Middle Eastern roots, so madder, saffron, walnut, indigo, pomegranate, and the like. The puppets that I made for this show were what I call my test puppets because the leather is very expensive. And so I wanted to make some out of vinyl first. So the first set I made are out of a clear plastic vinyl. It's about 0.5 millimeter thick. And then I painted them with, I had to double it actually because they flopped over a lot on the first. They were like, so I doubled it up to make them stiffer. And then they have wooden rods inserted into them in order to hold them up against the screen. And I painted them with a stained glass paint. So my next set of puppets will be leather. So see how they go.
Like 16th century color TV.
Right? It's color TV, right?
What got you so inspired to do this?
You know how when you like find a thing and then you start pulling the thread and you just keep going and then you're in this rabbit hole of I was gonna do a puppet show and now I'm researching vegetable root dyes. Like what did I do? As you do. So I will actually say it all started because I moved back home here from the Mid-Realm. I was in the Mid-Realm for 6 years, and we had an awesome queen there named Madalena who wore the most amazing Ottoman garb, and I'd never seen it, ever. And she had neon shades of many varieties, and I loved her garb so much, so I asked her about her garb, and she told me about Ottoman Turkish personas, and I said, I want to do that. And so I looked into it, and I really wanted to do entertainment and things that would be suitable for children, which, by the way, Katagos is not. Modern Katagos is for children. They use him in a lot of children's programming now, but boy and period, do not. Some of the language, this was mild. But definitely it suited my persona, and so I just kind of fell down a research hole. Any other questions?
If you're chosen as the Bard of Antir, what would you like to do with your time?
I love this question. I've had a lot of time to think about it. So one of my big things that I champion on my service journey in the SCA is accessibility. And I feel like Bardic, even for me, and I'm a very extroverted person, has felt a little inaccessible, especially for people who are really new to the SCA. And so my goal would be to help create some programs and some very easy intro to Bardic to help people understand that you don't have to compete. You don't ever have to compete. You don't ever have to compete to get to be a Laurel. And I think a lot of people feel like that's a roadblock and a potential journey for them. So I would want to help create ways for new bards to step into the art. And I also would like to see Bardic at more events in a non-competitive format, as my other competitors have mentioned. Just opportunities for people to showcase their art.
Thank you so much.
So, can you tell about the difficulties in translation for these sources?
Don't speak Turkish. Yeah, so I have so far only found 2 English translations of Karagos shows. There are many YouTube videos of people performing it in Turkish, which is super cool, and I hear all the laughter, and I'm assuming it's awesomely funny. So there is the last book that I received that I currently have being scanned for me. It's about 800 pages, written by Helmut Ritter, which is in both Turkish and German, from 1924, and it is the complete collection of all Karagos texts in one book. It's about 700 pages long. So I am currently working on translating it, and I will hopefully be performing more shows. There are 28 different Karagos shows that people know of, but it was never written down until this guy wrote it because they did it from memory. Your hand.
Other people who make new ones, are they all?
Yes.
Is it allowed?
Yeah, and that's actually part of the art form, is that it is for social commentary and for modern audiences of whatever era it was performed in. And so Karagos, like I said, last year, they just did the 500th anniversary and they did a ton of shows. And during Ramadan, they do a show every night. And you'll see at both the Sultan's Palace and also in every like coffee shop and private residences. It was a very popular art form. It took a long time to master. You had to study as an apprentice under a master puppeteer for many years and be the one handing them puppets until the guild would deem you a master of your own, and then your master would gift you your first puppet.
And that's still going on.
That is currently still going on. One more?
For the backlight, you're in for just lamps?
Lamps, yeah, or candles. Yeah. I struggled with the light. We had a lot of options. We finally went with the soft LED.
I'm just wondering, did we do good as an audience, or could you have used more?
No, it's perfect.
All right.
Real
Good job.
Good job.
Wonderful, amazing performance, one and all. What we're going to do, we have the voting jars up here. The pictures are next to the jars. They are in order of their performances as well. I tried to make it as easy as possible because when you have so many fabulous performers, it's easy to forget a name. Some of them have brought copies of their documentation if you'd like to see it. But we have little voting sheets up here. I will be monitoring to make sure everybody is honest. But thank you so, so much. As a bard from all the bards, we cannot do this without an audience. We don't just perform for ourselves, we perform for you, to bring you joy, to bring you beauty, to make it feel more medieval or more Renaissance or just more joy. We get our joy from giving you joy. So when they have the Bardic circles, please come by and sit and listen. You don't even have to perform. Just come be with all of us because we'd love to see more of you. So thank you again. Round of applause for our I'm not taking questions. I'm just the MC.
It's not a question.
What is it?
I just wanted to also thank Maggie for her work as Bard Monster this last year. Having the children's choirs, I think, is a really, really important step to bring Bardic into our community. And I just wanted to highlight that since this is her last day as Bard Monster.
And you haven't heard her sing, and she's singing. She's moved. She's moving. She moved me so much last year. All right, everybody, thank you so much. If you can help us put the chairs back into the lines, if you're sitting in one of the curved chairs, otherwise come on up and please drop your votes, and we'll see you all tonight when we have the finals performed.
I'll let them do that.
You get no. No. 7 o'clock. So